Hi, everybody. David Noor. I want to welcome you back to another episode of the Service Council inService podcast series. We're delighted you're here. We're live on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube and Twitter for, I think it will be a really interesting conversation. My guest today is Mynul Khan, founder and CEO of Field Nation. Mynul, welcome.
Good morning, Noor. Good to be with you.
It's great to have you. For our audience who may not know as much about you, would you kindly start with your background, kind of where you've been, what you've done, and how you arrived here?
Sure. So my name is Mynul Khan, as Noor just mentioned. I'm the founder and CEO of Field Nation. I started this company about 15 years ago. It's actually 15 years this March, so one more month to go. Big milestone. And just for a little background about Field Nation, it's an online marketplace, the largest field services network that connects about 10,000 businesses with about 100,000 technicians and engineers in the field. The best way to think about it is that if companies need large distributed workforce, they can access the Field Nation marketplace to find technicians, deploy them in the field, and manage the end-to-end workflow through the system.
How about your personal background, kind of education, kind of professional pedigree? How did you arrive to the Field Nation business model?
Yeah, so a little bit about my personal background. I am originally from Bangladesh. Now I live here in Minnesota. You just right before you started podcasting live, we were talking about the temperature. It's below 20 here. But when I was growing up in Bangladesh, it's a tropical place. Never saw snow in my life. So I ended up in Minnesota for my college, about 20 some years ago. And after graduation, I took a job with a startup where I happened to be, maybe fourth or the fifth employee. That's kind of where I got the entrepreneurial bug in me. I love the whole process of, building something from the ground, the uncertainty of is it going to fit the market need? Are we going to survive, next month, next year? And then ultimately seeing, how the product gets the market traction, how the team continues to grow, the success that comes with it. It's just really fulfilling. So I started my company, about 15 years ago with that with that kind of the inspiration that I got from the other company.
Congratulations on the tenure, because it's we're celebrating 20 years of our business this year, and it's just not that easy to kind of get beyond the first few. And you're right, it's a constant challenge to think about survival and not only the challenges and opportunities you see, but certainly the ones you don't see.
That's right. Well, congrats to you, Noor. It's a big milestone, 20 years.
I keep telling my kids I used to have a lot, more hair. It's just so let's talk about the marketplace, because I got to tell you, when I first heard you talk about the Field Nation business model, you don't necessarily think of marketplaces in the field service technician space. We know, eBay, and we know Airbnb, and we know Uber, and these all bring kind of seekers and solvers together. I want to start, and I want to get into the Field Nation business model more in a second, but let's talk about the overarching talent challenge. Mynul, you and I talked about between the Great Resignation and the Silver Tsunami of aging technical skills kind of retiring, and not enough apprentices and those coming into the space. You and I talked to a lot of field service, customer experience leaders who are really struggling with the whole talent agenda. Talk a little about the talent shortage, the talent challenges at the moment in the market.
Yeah, well, this is the headline for last several quarters, right? The labor shortage in the U.S. I was reading an article. It talked about Goldman Sachs reporting that 3.5 million people left the workforce in last several months, and 1.5 of that 3.5 took early retirement, and 1 million people had a normal retirement. So you can think of that 3.5, 2.5 is probably not coming back in the workforce. So whether it's the support technicians or field technicians or receptionists. I mean, it's painful for every business right now going through. Now, I think it's even more acutely painful for field service space. And the reason for that, even before this great resignation, there was something we called the Silver Tsunami, which refers to the aging workforce leaving the field services space. If you think about it, Noor, um, there was a great boom of uh, tech space, 15, 20 years ago, where most of the a vast majority of field technicians joined the workforce 15, 20 years ago. And that population is now leaving the workforce. If you think about, I think there's something like 40, 50% of field technicians are over 50 years old. And so ultimately, they're gradually leaving the workforce and keeping a huge void in the field services space, and that's a big challenge in this space.
And contributing to that silver tsunami is that we're not bringing enough young people into the space. We're not making it as exciting, interesting, letting them see the opportunities. So if you don't have as much fresh kind of blood coming in as the older generation, whether it's boom or X, decides to retire, we're not backfilling that. So you're also struggling with the whole apprentice model where you're not attached to that older, wiser technician to teach you how to do some of these things.
That's exactly right. I mean, we're not attracting new people. If you look at it, there is like, I think there is close to 1 million job opening in the IT space just in the US, right? Um, and if you look at the average wage, it's pretty attractive. However, this is not an area that we are promoting and attracting new people. I think there is an opportunity here, though, to provide training um, to new students, new graduates, and also upskilling people from the different industries, cross training people from the same industries, looking for complementary skills and the backgrounds and stuff like that. So there's a whole bunch of stuff to do to close that gap that we're seeing.
As you and I talked about, and I would encourage, by the way, our audience, feel free to jump in, questions around talent agenda, and really access to field technicians and service technicians. Mynul, the pandemic obviously has also created, just it exasperated the issue because now you've got, vaccine policies, and this is not a political statement, but those that for whatever reason don't want to or can't get vaccinated now, clients don't want them in their facilities, and it just creates extra pressure on that available talent pool.
It did. I mean, that's part of the reason, you see a lot of people are not coming back because they're probably either, the vaccine policy making it a little bit harder, or some people are just not feeling safe enough yet, right? And we just going through this surge. Looks like it's coming down a little bit. Hopefully, it continues. But a lot of people on the sideline because they're not feeling safe to come back to the workforce yet.
Sheila's got a great comment. Yeah, Service Council, by the way, does a ton of research, and for our audience, I would highly recommend that Voice of the Field Technician is a great piece of research. So she says the research shows that 60% of FSCs, field service engineers, in the 25 to 44 age demographic don't plan to be a field service engineer for the duration of the career. Again, that leaves a void that you're not really benefiting from their tenure. You're not benefiting from them being on the job and knowing the company and knowing its nuances and the product kind of longevity.
That's exactly right. But the good news here is that, although they may not be in the full time in a job, but they're not completely. A lot of early retirees, guess what? They're not just sitting and drinking margaritas all day, right? I mean, they want to do something, and they want the flexibility. If you ask people, the people that are in our marketplace, the number one thing that they appreciate the most is flexibility, and them being in the control of their livelihood, when they want to work, where they want to work, how much they want to charge, and stuff like that. So a lot of retirees are picking up this on-demand career, where they can work as much they want to work, and not more than what they don't want to work for.
I love that, because that's also one of the biggest benefits or reasons you get from your Uber drivers of why are you doing this, and they all have a side hustle, or they if they're older, you're like, you know what, I can work as many hours or a few hours I want when I want, which is sounds like one of the attributes of a marketplace. So let's talk about that. What are the alternatives? So I'm a technology company. We're standing up data centers. We're standing up. I need to, or I'm a financial services company, and we got to roll out a whole bunch of ATMs across the country, and I only have so many available technicians. Talk to me about alternatives.
So there are quite a few alternatives out there. So that's why I think that although that from the surface the situation looks really dire, really feels like how are we going to ever overcome this challenge? But I think there are many ways to do that. First of all, we are seeing a lot of companies bringing back their retirees even part-time fashion, right? We are seeing the aging workforce. They're bringing them back from the field to the support center and provide remote support in the field with the smart hands. We are seeing cross training and upskilling, right? So there's a lot of things. People are getting more creative about what can be done, but we're also seeing a huge tailwind in the on-demand workforce model. This mentality that to get my job done, I need um, W-2 full-time technicians on the bench. That's shifting, and that is shifting even faster with the economic crisis, the COVID crisis. Like, hey, my revenue is now more volatile, and my cost structure also need to be more flexible. And rather than having fixed cost labor, can I look at on-demand labor? So I can flex up and flex down when I need to. And the
I
thing
love.
that we see, go ahead, go
No, I
ahead,
was
man.
going to say I love that, and I appreciate Gail Cece, which, by the way, as our last episode's guest, brilliant on the mental health space, jumping in. Freedom with time and location is the new wealth, right?
That's right. I love it.
I think I've learned from the pandemic. I'd rather spend time with my kids or my grandkids versus working 70, 80-hour weeks. I don't want to do that again. So that seems to fit really nicely with this on-demand model.
So Nord, let me give you an example. I met one of our technician about 6 months ago, and he's from Arizona, and he sent me a note saying that, hey, look, I was laid off twice during COVID, and then I was introduced to a platform like Phil Nation, and now not only I'm surviving, I'm thriving, and I actually have a business where I recruited a bunch of people and trained them, and getting the work from platform like Fuel Nation, and I'm expanding beyond Arizona, my state line, and I'm never going back to my previous career. This is my new career as a businessman. This is really really fulfilling for me to see how Fuel Nation is kind of nurturing new generation of entrepreneurs.
So talk more about that. What are some of the, if you think of the state of the field service market, talk about some of the challenges, talk about some of the opportunities.
Yeah, so let me start with some of the challenges. Noor, there's a lot of challenges right now with the inflation, um, the cost of labor going up. We hear from our customers the W-2, the fixed labor salaries are going up. Somewhere 20% or even more. Even contract labor is also going up. We can see that in our marketplace, labor cost is going up at about 10-15%. in many areas. Um, the equipment cost is growing pretty rapidly because of the inflation again. But then this supply chain thing that we've been hearing for last 12, 18, 24 months, although it's easing, it seems like it's easing. But I have been on the call with many of our customers, and they said projects still keep getting pushed back because they haven't received all the equipments and parts and materials and stuff like that. So supply chain continue to be a big issue. So those are few challenges. However, there is a lot of bright side in the field service. First of all, um, retail, for example, just the retail field service, retail for the first time is growing. There's an article on Wall Street that talks about since this is the first, last year was the first year since 2017, the in-store retail is actually growing. The footprint is retail footprint, physical footprint is growing. Many, even on the companies that started as online first is now saying we need more localized brand presence, right? And so we're seeing that, and that comes with a lot of technology need, because today's stores are not your store from 10, 20 years ago. There's a ton of technology getting deployed in the store. For example, self checkout for customer experience, right? The technology is getting deployed to bring the customer experience as the number one priority for the retailers. Self checkout is getting deployed. The network connectivity in the store is just amazing nowadays. If you go through, it seems like during the COVID, every quick serve restaurant quickly changed their strategy from in-store dining to drive-through. Right, every store now has drive-through, so they're deploying digital menu boards and all sorts of stuff. So there is a technology getting deployed, fiber optics, 5G network, and the list goes on and on. And that creates opportunity for the field service providers, and the challenges on the other hand, how are you going to find the technicians, how are you going to train them, can you get the equipment, the supply chain problems solved, and that sort of stuff.
You're exactly right. So I'm reminded of Amazon that's been so successful in putting a lot of traditional brick and mortars out of business, opening up their own brick and mortar stores.
That's
and
right.
I recently went into one where you can see the products, you can scan the products, but you use your Amazon app and it gets shipped to you. So you don't have to take it with you if you don't want. You can just have it drop ship. But you're exactly right. From the digital menus to the, I was at a gathering recently where there was mobile ATMs, and I mean even ATMs, and a lot of those things are becoming. Let's go where the customers are. Let's go where they want to interact with our brand, with our value, and all of those means somebody's got to install it, somebody's got to maintain it, somebody's got to deliver parts to it. So it absolutely shows a lot of potential for that. John Carroll's jumping in. Personally speaking, the brick and mortars in-person experience is my channel preference. I don't like to buy until I can try it. Call me old school. So yeah, I mean, a lot of Mudmore people like that kind of touch and feel. I can't call Amazon or go see somebody down the street at Amazon, and I think increasingly you're going to need to create that multi-channel, omni-channel experience. Let's switch gears to the whole marketplace and the network business model. Can you talk about this overview? Give us an overview of this Field Nation model.
Yeah, absolutely. So Field Nation. Let's take a half a step back. I think the marketplace models are very. We are all in last 5 years. We all at a personal level, as a consumer level, we all become very familiar with it, from Uber to Grubhub to Airbnb and so forth. But Field Nation is slightly different, although underlying business model is still network model, a marketplace type of model. However, it's an enterprise business solution. And so let me explain what I mean by that. So we have over 100,000 technicians and engineers that are contractors. And so that kind of creates a sort of a marketplace network in our platform, right? But on top of the platform on marketplace, we built a very robust workflow system that allows our customers that are enterprises to come and deliver field services at scale, whether 100 jobs or thousands, tens of thousands of jobs in the field, and do it at scale, do it at speed, right? So in our software, we created all workflow management from the planning stage to engaging the right technician in the field, getting their collaterals and deliverables back, and all the way to the back office support. For example, whether you pay one technician or 10,000 technicians, our system can automate the whole process. Insurance management, risk, all the risks are actually mitigated through Field Nation. So you don't have to chase and track tens of thousands of technicians, insurance, that sort of stuff. And then at the end of the year, we also process all the tax forms and that sort of stuff. So we take care of all the back office.
I love what it sounds like. Sounds to be a complete kind of an end-to-end solution. But let me make sure I understand. So your buyer is that digital display in the retail or quick service restaurant, either the restaurant brand themselves, or it's the tech company that goes and installs those in. They need to install those in 1,000 restaurants. So
That's
do
right.
I come into Field Nation and request, I guess, I need 1,000 technicians to go to these locations and install this for me? Is that kind of how that's the buyer?
Exactly right. That's a high level concept. Like you come to Field Nation platform and you identify your you kind of give us your requirements, the locations, what skill sets, certifications, training, etc., your schedule and all that kind of stuff. And then our system will go match who is the closest technician, who has the skill set to do this job and the prior history of doing this job, who matches the budget that you're offering, all that kind of stuff. And then it'll make the connection. And then, the whole engagement will go through the system. We can obviously tie back into the customer systems and integration standpoint and so forth.
A couple of the attributes of other marketplaces you and I are aware of, right? So if you think of Airbnb, if you think of any of the other ones, is the rating. Do you have any kind of a rating system for the technicians and or the companies that you bring together?
Absolutely. I mean, that's at the heart of a marketplace is the trust. I call the Craigslist. Craigslist is the first generation marketplace. I always ask people, like, would you go get a babysitter from Craigslist? And I answer would be absolutely not. However, you, me, and other people would be comfortable staying at a stranger's place at the Airbnb, or taking a car from a stranger through Uber. And the reason is because there is trust built into this system. Because in this new generation of marketplaces, the entire transaction goes through the system. Where Craigslist, you get a name and then the whole transaction happen off platform. You don't have a feedback loop. How was the transaction, right? But our system captures everything. What type of job, what kind of skill sets, and when the job is done, did the job get done accurately, on time, on budget, and stuff like that. So we capture all this feedback, and that creates a really robust trust system in the platform.
We've got a comment from Gail. Another deterrent for techs is the added responsibilities around administrative elements, right? Their role in technology and processing service orders, parts orders, etc. Many techs don't like that. They don't really love technology. Technology skills and technical skills engage different parts of the brain. They're not necessarily equal levels of the skills for the tech. So as I understand, you also take care of all the administrative stuff.
That Gail nailed it. The techs, they're passionate to do the job, right? They just know how to do it. They want to do the job. They don't want to go and send an invoice and wait for 90 days and whatever. All gets done automatically through the system.
Yep.
They don't have to send an additional invoice. They don't have to wait to get paid. If there is an accident, if there is a mishap happens, we take care of that. So it just lets them focus on what they really do best, which
And it
is
seems
getting the
like
job done.
it seems like you're removing the friction. You're removing the friction or the added, pain in the rear parts that are goes with let's get a qualified technician on site to install that. Unlike my long distance calls, have it be uneventful. It
That's
gets
right.
done. It gets done right, and both sides are happy. Is that accurate?
That's absolutely right. I mean, it sounds like you just read our mission statement, which is breaking down the barriers to work so we can unleash opportunities. And that's kind of how Field Nation got started. We keep looking at the friction point, whether it's, how do I know the technician insurance, or how do I know the background check is recent? How do I know that I'm going to get paid? So these are all friction points, right? So we keep looking at friction points, and we keep bringing back whether it's a technology solution or the service solution, to make sure that those friction goes away as the engagement happens between two parties.
So I get the benefits from, because again, the gig economy, like I said, has been around for a while, and I think increasingly more people have gotten used to it. And what I love about this is not just graphic designers or other people. It's actually coming into more technical. I love what you're doing is you're adding this opportunity and this freedom to a much broader, highly skilled labor. John has a couple great questions. Do independent contractors think differently, more commercial, less customer centric than W-2 or full-time engineers? That's one. One of the concerns we continuously hear of product-centric OEMs is maintaining of the brand experience. So Uber the driver doesn't show up with a branded shirt. A lot of times my service technicians do. Talk about how do you ensure that customer centricity, not just the
Yeah.
way they show up, but the way they carry themselves, the way they deliver that service kind of continues to uphold those brand values by the OEMs.
So let me first. This is a great question, John. And let me first take that the attitude of an independent contractors, and then we'll talk about how the OEMs can create a brand centric experience with the on-demand contractors. So the attitude for independent contractors is very different. Their livelihood depends on this. This is they're running a business, and so there is a lot of sense of accountability and responsibility, and especially for a platform like Field Nation, if you burn a bridge with one customer, that's on your profile forever,
Yeah.
and the profile is your storefront. You don't want that, right? So we see a tremendous sense of accountability and responsibility from the independent contractors, because they take the pride. This is their business and their brand, their reputation in the marketplace. So they take it very, very seriously. Uh, the second part to John's question is that how can OEMs create a brand centricity with the on-demand workers? Look, I think there is a misconception that only the W-2 full-time technician can represent my brand, and how it's impossible to do it on-demand contractors. And it's not true at all. So what we do with our customers through the platform is that, the customers can create a sub network of vetted and curated talent pool, and that talent pool becomes their go-to network. So, Noor, for example, if you are my guy in Atlanta, let's pretend scenario play here for a little bit. I'm a company and I need a technician, and Noor is my guy in Atlanta. Now, through Field Nation platform, I vetted and I recruited you, and I put you on my certified list. Now there is a sense of loyalty and commitment between us. Next time I have a job in Atlanta, guess who is getting this job? Noor is getting this job. Who has done work for me before, who gone through my certification and credentialing process and stuff like that. And you are representing my brand as well as anybody else. And so, a lot of time we also see, our technicians are, carrying customer branded, materials to represent themselves. They go represent our customers' brand. They don't represent themselves or Field Nation. Field Nation is just an enabler, but when the technicians is on site, they're representing our customer's brand.
Yeah, John and I have had a couple conversations on this. It's like us using freelance, video people or graphic designers or anything else. Once they do a good job for you, you kind of select them and you put a
That's your
heart,
go-to
you
guy.
add them to your favorites, and they
Right.
become your go-to people because they're now become a known entity. You know the quality of the work, their responsiveness, their communication, ultimately their ability to kind of deliver that. So we've got a follow-up question. I appreciate everybody jumping in. We got from Dale Young. Seems that emerging technologies like new mobile platforms, augmented reality, would help reduce some of the administrative work. How do emerging technologies impact recruiting and retention of those field service technicians?
So it's a great question. We're seeing that a lot of complex work that needed a kind of your own bench technician to go do the job. Now you can have those experienced people in your remote support center and give a smart hand, technical savvy, but may not have the person may not have the specific brand experience, exactly that equipment that they're performing. But you can, with the mobile augmented reality software, now the experienced person from the back office support center can guide the smart hand tech how to do the job. And so I think so to answer Dale's question, what I think where the industry is going is that you have your superstar, super deep knowledge technicians in your support center, and then you have a broad base of technician generalist in the field that you can get, on your own or a platform like Field Nation, and you're enabling very complex work through the augmented reality softwares.
Dale, I answered another executive around this similar topic, and I said, "What you're doing is cloning humans is not legal yet, but what you're doing is you're cloning their knowledge and
That's
their
right.
wisdom and their experiences." Exactly what Mynul mentioned is I can have a whole lot of technical depth at a central location that then remotely allows those that just have maybe less experience through the technology be able to do increasingly more sophisticated work, which becomes invaluable. And by the way, that's also where labor arbitrage comes from. That's also where scale, breadth, and depth comes from.
That's
So,
exactly right.
Mynul, I love the Field Nation. I love the marketplace idea and the concept, but there's got to be some challenges. Talk about some of the challenges, some of the obstacles to a broader set of buyers embracing this kind of a marketplace approach.
Look, we started during Great Recession in 2008,
Mm.
and um, and that was a really interesting time because um, any crisis brings an awareness inside an enterprise, like, hey, we should probably try something new, to overcome that crisis, economic crisis that we have. And then we are seeing, during this, the COVID crisis that created in 2020, also a wave of larger enterprises saying we need to look at how can we do things better, faster, and cheaper.
Mm.
So I think the biggest challenge for enterprises is that it's a paradigm shift, nor the concept itself is not a rocket science, right? Anybody would understand this seems like a better way to do it, field service work. But it's a paradigm shift for enterprises how they need to reconfigure their internal infrastructure and adapt to a new model. How you onboard, train, retain a full-time workforce, and how you do that with on-demand workforce are very different.
Mm.
But your internal infrastructure, your internal knowledge base know how to do that with full-time techs, or maybe outsourcing it to another entity. But then how do you go from there to how to access a labor pool of tens or 100,000 techs, and how do you curate that network, how do you build relationship with them, how do you create this brand awareness with them? That's a paradigm shift. It's a transformation, and it takes time.
any kind of paradigm shift and transformation is going to threaten the status quo. Do you believe, particularly this talent or labor marketplace, challenges the assumptions and assertions by a lot of the traditional functions like HR, like onboarding, like if I'm doing that inside a company, recruiting, then I don't necessarily, with your environment, I feel redundant within the organization. Does that talk a little about that redundancy? Talk a little about that intersection of what traditional talent, human labor functions do in an organization versus a marketplace concept?
Yeah, there is always a big change always brings the creative distraction, right? So there is always that, which is good. There's nothing, you take the resource that was doing something and now there's a better way to do it, and then you redeploy that resource to do something even more meaningful, more
Mm,
impactful for your business. um, and it's happening even in our universe, because the functions that were built to identify tax and manage tax and stuff like that. Now the platform like Field Nation is kind of making it easier and cheaper and faster, and and that layer of function, whether these are businesses or whether there's an internal function, they need to now add more value to on top of what they were doing before, or reconfigure their function completely.
mm.
But that's definitely happening to some
For
degree.
our audience, if you joined us late, you're listening to Mynul Khan, founder and CEO of Field Nation. They've built a fascinating marketplace for field technicians, service technicians, and it sounds like they're certainly thriving in this current labor shortage market we're all in. Talk about Field Nation's growth opportunities. As you mentioned, retail is growing. You've got, even our home, we bought not only a generator that needs to be serviced, right, but you also have got a media cabinet, and even at an enterprise level, increasingly we're seeing more technology in a lot of different outlets that we all visit, from my car wash to my dry cleaners to now the automated menu in my restaurants, and those all have to be serviced somehow. Talk about the growth opportunities for you.
Yeah, that's a really great question. Or I when we do onboarding of our new employees, I need to create a picture of how big is the landscape. And I tell, if there is a technician coming to your house and doing HVAC work, or you're going to a restaurant, and if you see audio, video, and drive through or whatever, there is technology there, and there is a technician there to install, maintain, and break fix. So opportunity for us is massive. We are very focused right now in IT and telecom, but as we think, 3 years, 5 years down the road, we see opportunities for market segment expansion, and we routinely get inquiries from leaders from other industries coming and saying, "Hey, we think we need something like Fuel Nation in our space."
Mm.
We routinely get inquiries from other parts of the world. We're very focused in North Americas today. People from other parts of the world would say, this is something we need in this part of the world. So I think there's an opportunity for us to, expand our adjacencies geographically and segment wise. But also, one of the things that we are maniacally focused is that the customers that we are serving, what other value added product and services we can add. Like you mentioned, Nor, we are in the business of removing friction.
Mm.
So anytime we see friction, that's really interesting to us, because we think that we can add a product, a feature, a service that eliminates that friction and unlocks value for our users.
I want to build on that because, again, most of us didn't imagine getting in a car with a stranger until we figured out how horrible the taxi experience was, and we all got a lot more comfortable with Uber. And once they build that core to the platform of transportation, then they had an opportunity to expand. There's Uber Eats, and this, which is a big part of their growth business, and now they're investing in autonomous vehicles and so on and so forth. So Talk about, are there platform extension opportunities when and beyond? I hear you about different market adjacencies. What else could you do with something like this that brings field technicians with kind of those OEM brands that need them out deployed?
Yeah, there are a few things that we're looking at. One of the things that we see as a challenge for many of our customers is that they have many different labor pool, and it's all fragmented. And it's the management of fragmented labor pool. When you have a project, you need one single pane of glass. And so we have an opportunity to make that for our customers, where we can actually really simplify how they're managing blended workforce. We're not one of the concept node that we promote is not that you get rid of your fixed cost labor, because that's not the solution. The solution really is to take advantage of what's the best blend of labor wherever you can get it.
Mm.
And there is no one solution that fits to all your need. And so this blended workforce is the concept that we have been talking about, and making that management process really simple and easy. I think there's an opportunity there. We also see, every week we are attracting close to 1,000 technicians signing up on our platform, and they're signing up to get jobs from the Field Nation marketplace. But these technicians, they're basically, when they sign up with Field Nation, they're starting a business.
Mm.
They're entrepreneurs. I think there's an opportunity for us to make their whole business management experience simple and easy, and really, really effective for them.
It reminds me of eBay, that gave a lot of mom and pops a much broader audience because they were able to create eBay stores, and same thing with Amazon stores, that it could be a person out of their house, but you've built a platform to again bring seekers and solvers together. John, we mentioned that Service Council Voice of the Field Technician research. John Carroll's jumping in. I love this, right? From the 2021 Voice of Field Service Engineers, number one, dislikes, paperwork, and administrative tasks.
That's right.
2, pressure to work faster, right, from management or customers. Listen, I don't need you to take 6 weeks. I need this done in 6 hours. And then time finding information. Where is this? How can I get access to it? Where's the latest diagram that shows this configuration, so on and so forth. Talk briefly about how you address those 3 within your platform.
Yeah, so the first one, the paperwork and administrative work, we just really make it simple through our workflow. So there is no additional paperwork for our technicians outside of a work order, and it's really self-pacing. It just kind of prompts them to do the next thing, and it all combines in one place, so they don't have to go separately invoice them when the job is done. No, when the job is done, you close it out right there from your mobile app. And when you close it out, that automatically creates an invoice to the customers, and then you don't have to wait. We push the payment out to you, right? So that's the first part. Paperwork and administrative. Technicians and engineers don't like it. You and I talked about it. Nor they're passionate to get the job done. They're good at it. They want to spend all their time doing that. And also, this is where they generate money. Paperwork and administration, that's taking up all their bandwidth, which is their inventory that they're selling, right? The time is their inventory. The second part, pressure to work faster. Now, this is where the independent contractors, they're in charge of their business, and they're accepting the job that they think that they can get it done within their schedule, within the calendar that they have. So this is the thing I was talking about. Our independent contractors, not just our independent contractor. I think independent contractors in general, they value, the number one thing that they value is the flexibility. I want to work when I want to work, where I want to work, and whoever I want to work for. The ultimate freedom brings them happiness.
And it sounds like what I like about your environment is I'm thinking alternatives, right? Could I put out an ad? Could I go hire contract technicians myself? Yes. Talk about a headache and a half. I would have to go do all the background checks and all the verification of their skills and their availability. And you really are bringing seekers and solvers together. You really are bringing, I have this need. who do you have from your pool of available technicians that can go do this? So kudos to you for making this work. We've got a follow up. Dale wants to make sure he gets his money's worth from this session. So Dale's got a follow up question. Speaking of blended workforce, I saw an article that stated only 9% of FSTs are women. How does Field Nation recruit and enable a more diverse talent set? Great
Yeah,
question and
that's
a
a great.
critical one.
Yeah, it's a great question, Dale. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of women in the field service space. However, I can tell you, some of the women that we have in our marketplace, they're outstanding. Their background, their work ethics, their experience that they're providing to the customers, they're top notch, and we are really really proud to showcase them to our customers, and we celebrate their success as well. Uh, just as an example, a couple of weeks ago in our executive Slack channel, one of our team member, found an amazing technician who happens to be a woman, and we were just talking about her background, how she started her business, and how successful she is. So there is definitely a lot of celebration within Field Nation for the women that are part of our network and community.
For both Dale and Mynul, I was talking to a woman executive in the cybersecurity, and security space, and there's actually a nonprofit, I think, called Girls Security or something that shows young women all the opportunities for them in that space. And it sounds like field technicians and field service is another one that could benefit from, again, introducing the next generations of, look, there's opportunities for you to get access and see and grow through the process. Mynul, in our last few minutes together, I really want to talk about the life of an entrepreneur. It sounds like that bug bit you very early on, and as you and I talked about, we both have spent a number of years in our own businesses. Talk about the startup challenges. Talk about a lot of our past guests have been really successful senior executives of these marquee brands who are, in essence, would be your buyers. But a lot of them aren't startups. A lot of them don't have to worry about borrowing from credit cards to meet payroll, or how do I make sure we have the right people on the team on certainly a smaller scale. Talk about startup challenges.
Yeah. So my God, it's 15 years ago. I can reflect some of those things that I had to go through, and I know all the entrepreneurs go through the craziness, and or you probably did as well. But the first thing is that how much conviction do you have in the mission of the business? Nothing is more important than that. Not even money, not even other people, because if you don't have the conviction, nothing really matters.
Mm.
Nobody will believe in you, and more importantly, you're going to go through so many ups and downs. You're not going to have the stamina to stay on course. So conviction is the number one thing. The second is, do you have a compelling story to tell and get other people to join the mission? Look, I started with no money, so I didn't have the luxury to attract people with amazing qualification and say, hey, I'm going to pay you the market rate and all that kind of stuff. Right? I had to go find, I call them missionaries, who really believed in what I believed in, and join the mission of Field Nation. And so, but people matters, right? People matters no matter at what scale, whether you're a two-man show or 2,000 people company. People matters tremendously. Your growth will be limiting if you're not able to attract right people. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is that don't run out of money. You're gonna need money. I got lucky. I bootstrapped my company all the way until we are institutionally funded after 7 or 8 years later. At that time, the company was scaling and growing and profitable and all that kind of stuff. And that's a good position to be to raise money. I don't encourage people to go raise money day one. I say bootstrap, and get to a point where you are in control of raising money. You're not giving up control of your vision and your dream, and you can pick and choose who you want to do business with, and have your partner as.
For our audience edification, I come from the private equity world and spent 6 years, buying and selling 100, different companies. There's no shortage of capital. As a matter of
That's right.
fact, there's some 96 billion with a B sitting on the sidelines right now looking for good deals to invest in. So capital isn't it. It really is. I love that. The conviction, the compelling story, and I love that, attracting missionaries to come do this with you. Mynul, I think you would also agree, as the company scales, you need different skill sets. You need different capabilities. You need a different DNA. Early on, you need the scrappy, resourceful, but at some point,
Right.
you need processes and you need that discipline of documentation and really acting like a bigger, more mature type organization. Talk about some of the scaling up challenges you've gone through.
Yeah. So every stage is different, and you're going to need different skill set and different types of people. I said, in the beginning, you need missionaries, and then as you start to scale up, you need mercenaries who are specialists, right? Generalists in the beginning, and then specialists as you start to scale your business. One of the things that I do for myself, I start the year asking myself, am I ready to be the CEO of this company? Because I'm, Fuel Nation is a high growth company. Every year the company looks very different than the last year. New set of challenges, new set of people, new set of business opportunities. And so I ask myself, this is the first year of being CEO of this stage company, and am I ready for it? What are the new challenges that I anticipate, and how should I prepare for myself for this type of stuff? But again, not a lot of people are, not a lot of entrepreneurs are excited to go through the journey, and there is nothing wrong with it. If you think you are a startup guy and you want to kind of keep doing it again and again, serial entrepreneur, that's awesome, and you just keep doing it again. I happen to love the whole journey. I love to grow a company as big and as great as I can, and I want to stay on the course, in the growing. But then that comes with the challenge of I don't know what I should be doing the next stage. So I got to retrain myself every 12 months with a new set of challenges and opportunities
I
that
I
stage
often
brings.
often coach leaders and entrepreneurs alike. There's a fundamental difference. Confidence says I know a lot, but there's still a lot that I can learn. Arrogance says I know a lot, but there's nothing new I can learn. And there's a fine line between them, right? As long as
Right.
you want to be a confident entrepreneur, right? By the same token, the day you don't believe you can learn and grow through that process might be the day you should go do something else, because
That's
I think
exactly right.
everybody's going to see that. Talk about, obviously, talent is fundamental and core to your business model, but it's also critical to the success of Field Nation as a company. What do you look for in building the team? What do you look for in evolving, elevating the team? And candidly, when someone is not a right fit, well, how do you approach that subject?
Yeah, great question, Nor. It's all about people, right? At every stage, if you don't have the right people, you're not going to the next stage. That's how simple this is. It doesn't matter how good your strategy is, how great of a market you're in. If you don't have the right people, it's not going to happen. So for me, obviously there's some, you know black and white. Does the person have the skill set for the role the person is going to run and stuff like that? That's probably a more simpler matchmaking and measurable stuff. But there is more than that, which is the intangible, the cultural fit that I look for, the attitude of, can we figure this thing out? I say, I don't want people who come with experience and box themselves with that. Like, I don't have, like you said, I know everything, I don't have to change. No, every company, every journey is different. Can you adapt? Can you figure it out? Can you figure out the journey that we're in, the challenge we're facing? Can you figure this out? The problem solving attitude, the resiliency is important to me. The humility is important to me, because the people that don't have humility, in my mind, they're very close minded. And that's a problem in many ways, because you're not open to learning, and you're not also open to collaborating with other people. So attitude is really, really important when I look for people.
The other thing that I found, and I'd welcome your comment on this, for years, we built packages that we shoved people into. I think this pandemic has woken most of us up of go find the talent and create a package that fits them. So whether it's someone that wants to work part-time, or someone that wants to focus on a specialized skill, and if you want that talent, go create an environment that they want to be a part of, and go create a package or a role that fits them and fits their lifestyle. Because I think, again, a lot of people have learned the days of old school 80-hour weeks are long gone. I want to actually have a life. I want to be able to enjoy, and as Gail and others have jumped in, money to fuel my life, not work so I can be at
That's right.
work all the time. Right?
I really love this concept that you have, find the talent and then create the package. You know, when I do interviews, and people from different state will ask, like, how often do I need to come to the office, and stuff like that. I'm like, I just need to find the right person. And if I find the right person, they will figure it out. What's the right? I'm not going to prescribe how often and what's the hour. We're not babysitting anybody. We're finding leaders, and leaders will lead the way.
I love it. I often tell clients, the sooner you look for adults, interview adults, hire adults, expect adulting behaviors, and treat them like adults, the sooner you can get out of the babysitting business. And
That's right.
way too many people you and I meet are in the babysitting business. So my final question of you is one of looking in your past for growth opportunities ahead. If you knew 10, 15 years ago some of the things you know now, what's the top 2-3 pieces of advice you'd give yourself?
Oh my God. Look, so you mentioned something about, what do you do when somebody is not performing. This is hard for me, and I keep telling myself, because we get emotionally tangled, and mentally we build relationship and stuff like that, and it's hard to make those decisions. And I suffered my fair share making those kind of decisions, and I continue to keep telling myself how to do it better. So, but look, I made way too many mistakes for you and me to talk about it here in last 1 minute.
Yeah.
We'll need one day and marathon sessions where I can tell you.
For
all
our
the
audience,
mistakes.
that's true with every entrepreneur, right? If it would be an entire book or separate book by itself of all the mistakes we made, but it makes me, you, and John, and a lot of our other audience members who are entrepreneurs. Gail was kind enough to jump in with her comments. I think that much more resilient. For our audience, you've been listening to Mynul Khan, founder and CEO of Field Nation. Mynul, thanks for the time. Thanks for your insights, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thanks for having me. It was really fun. Thanks, Noor.